What up, everybody? It's Aaron still in space with Robert in ground control, or mission control, whatever we want to call it. I came
this
up
is
here.
Major Tom from ground control. No? You don't know that song?
No.
Get out. Get out.
I can't get any further than space.
Go further.
Where's that?
I don't know. Be the Rocket Man. Go to Mars.
Rocket Man. That's all I know. That's all lyric I think anyone knows from that song. So, guys, we are here with one of our newer segments. Cereal is a soup, which it is. I think it is. Robert thinks it's not. But what that means
I don't think it's not. I know it's not.
It is. It is. It is a soup. So what we do is we talk about controversial geek subjects. We pick a subject either we think could have a controversial comments to it, or maybe we both agree on it and there's no controversial opinion between each other. And we just talk about it. And then we want to know down below, if you think it's controversial, could it be? Maybe it's not. Maybe we're all on the same page and we all hate the same thing or love the same thing. Who knows? So this week, Robert's picking the subject. I picked last week. It wasn't as controversial as I thought it was going to be, which was, if you want to go check that out, it was who had the better on-screen chemistry for Spider-Man. This week is whatever Robert has in store for us.
Yeah, so I think, controversial opinion, which I think you... I'm not sure actually where you're going to fall on this one. And this is an opinion I've come to recently.
Okay.
So at the time, I did not have this opinion, but as we've gotten farther away from these movies, this is a movie topic, as we've gotten farther away from these movies, my opinion has changed. And so my controversial opinion is that Batman Begins is a better movie than The Dark Knight.
What?
Okay, let me lay out my case. All right. So I think both movies are very good. Let me just start off by saying that I think The Dark Knight is a very good movie. And I think that the villain in The Dark Knight is better than the villains we get in Batman Begins. Right, I think the Joker, Heath Ledger's Joker performance is off the charts phenomenal. Okay. It's a great performance. The reason that I like Batman Begins better than Dark Knight is because, to me, I think personally, I always feel like I connect more to origin stories than sequels. I think that's true of most things, whether it be the Spider-Man movies, whether it be Captain America, whether it be the Avengers. Like I still love the first Avengers movie. That's my favorite Avengers movie because it's about the origin of the Avengers. And so I think that I just connect to origin stories a little bit more. And so when I look back, and I recently rewatched these movies, when I look back at Batman Begins and we get the origin of Batman, we get the origin of Bruce Wayne. And I think it really stood out to me, like the character of Bruce Wayne gets a journey in Batman Begins that he doesn't really get in The Dark Knight. And I think that is what makes it different for me, is that in Batman Begins, we meet Bruce and, he's got a lot of pain. He's got a lot of hurt. There's something driving him, that trauma of losing his parents. And he, ends up kind of, traveling the world, and he ends up, connected with Ra's al Ghul and the League of Shadows and all that stuff. And it inspires him to become Batman, and to, rid the city of crime and all that stuff. And I just think that storyline is very interesting. And seeing how his relationships develop with Lucius Fox, how his relationship develops with Michael Caine. I don't like Katie Holmes. If I could cut her out of this movie and replace her with a different actress, I absolutely would. That is my one gripe with Batman Begins, is that I cannot stand her in this movie. But even with that being said, I just think it's such an interesting story that is being told. I love the very ending of it, where you've got Bruce Wayne and Michael Caine, and they've come to that full circle moment where he says, why do we fall? So that we learn to pick ourselves back up. and it's a very powerful moment. I love Gary Oldman as Gordon in this movie in particular, and I love how he gets to ride around in the Batmobile, and he's like blowing stuff up, and he's like, yes, he's just like, he's Gordon in this movie. And by the time we get to the next one, the things that Dark Knight I think pulls it down for me is I'm not a big fan of the Two-Face Harvey Dent storyline. Okay. And I don't like, again, that Batman doesn't really have a journey in this movie. Like the whole movie, he's, he and Joker are on separate sides, and he doesn't grow. He doesn't learn anything from going up against the Joker, even though they're telling you that he's learning things and that, he's going to have to change who he is in order to defeat the Joker. And, by the end of the movie, he's, kind of saying, that Gotham just proved to you that, they weren't, this terrible place. Well, that's actually not really true, because if you look at what happens in that ferry scene where Joker is pitting these people against one another, the people that weren't the criminals voted to blow up the other ferry. They just couldn't follow through with it. But the majority of people actually wanted to take that action. And so Joker's kind of right. These people aren't these righteous people that, won't stoop to their level. It's just through happenstance that, basically the guy doesn't want to get blood on his hands, and he's not the one, like nobody has the courage of convictions to actually be the one to do it. Right. But, I don't necessarily think that what Batman is saying is that, these people prove to you that they're not at your level. I don't know that I get that hammered home. And so to me, even though the movie's really good and Heath Ledger is phenomenal, I don't love it the way that I did when it first came out. I think I find myself going back more and more for Batman Begins, and I enjoy that movie more. I think Liam Neeson is fantastic. I love the back and forth between him and Christian Bale. And I don't know, I like my movies about heroes, and The Dark Knight is about the Joker. It really is. Batman Begins is about Batman. The Dark Knight is about Joker. Yeah. And I prefer a movie that's about my hero. I mean, I think that's why ultimately the MCU succeeds so often, is that their story is focused on the heroes. Yes, there are interesting villains in a lot of the movies, and they've done a good job of starting to develop a lot of those villains in a more interesting way. But ultimately, their stories are about their heroes, and that's what really connects me to them. So I think that's why I enjoy Batman Begins a little bit more.
You're wrong. I'm going to say that. So I get where you're coming from. I really do. And I respect that, because I agree with you. Batman Begins is a true movie about just Batman, his growth from, losing your parents and everything else to becoming the Batman, the essential guy we know for the rest of this franchise. And then jumping into Dark Knight, we jump into probably the most well-known of the three movies from all three of them. Now, I know there's the whole I'm not going to take away anything from Heath Ledger. I'm going to say that right now, but I know there are people out there who believe that it really wasn't an Oscar nominee kind of movie, because a lot of people feel that he only got it because he died.
I disagree.
I disagree. I don't think so. I think he did great. But I know some people believe that that's why it's such a good. It wouldn't have been as good if he didn't die. And I'm like, no, he sold the Joker. That Joker is what I always want to see in these movies now. Yeah. I guess again it goes to me that I like the Joker, and I go with the Joker in The Dark Knight, not because I'm psychotic like the Joker, but I think that character resembles a darker side of every person out there. You're right. The fairies didn't prove Batman fully right, but they also didn't prove him wrong, because you do have in the criminal side the one guy that's like, you don't want to do it, and he takes it and throws it out knowing he's a bad person, so if something bad happens to him, he kind of deserves it. So he understands, and he's willing to sacrifice that to save those people. So that's the noble side, where Batman's like, they proved you wrong, Joker. Yes, the civilians kind of proved Joker right, though, and I agree with that. But in the end, this whole movie, I think, is about the opposite sides of the same coin. These two characters are very highly intelligent. Joker's highly intelligent. He was almost one step ahead of Batman every way. And even as Batman's trying to catch up, he's still almost ahead. You know,
yeah,
and
I think what really drives it home for me is that I think and you know, this might be a serial as a soup for another day.
yeah,
But I think Joker is one of the least compelling villains in Batman's, you know,
Rogues Gallery.
Rogues Gallery, and it's mainly because he is just chaos, which means you can tell whatever story you want. You can go all kinds of crazy places, but there's no like one motivating factor for him. Whereas like that's what I like about someone like Mr. Freeze, who has a very clear reason of why he's doing things that he's doing, and so you can start to connect with him. And like that's the best villains for me are ones that I can connect with and empathize with. Think of like Magneto, think of, you know, Killmonger in the Black Panther movie. Like these are characters who have a certain perspective because of their life experience, and I can connect to that. Whereas with Joker, you know, and it's highlighted in The Dark Knight, he has whatever his life experience was, and he lies about it, so we don't know what's true or not. But clearly his life experience has led him to the conclusion that everyone's terrible. Everyone, you know, like life is just random. It's chaotic. You can't rely on anyone or anything. And we should just all embrace that and lean into the chaos.
Right. They eventually, so everyone snaps.
Yeah, and so he has that, you know, that one bad day. He has that mindset, but that's not a mindset I connect to. So I don't get a lot of interest. So even though Heath Ledger does an amazing job as the Joker, and he absolutely deserved that Oscar.
Oh, he did, yeah.
To me, that's just like I'm more drawn to the Ra's al Ghul motivation of, you know, we need to wipe Gotham off the face of the earth because it's a cesspool, and it's, you know,
Sodom and Gomorrah all over again.
And, you know, and then you've got Scarecrow, who clearly just gets off on scaring the crap out of people. Like that's, you know, and like, so that's interesting, and using those villains, which we'd never seen in live action before. I really liked that choice. So again, it's not that I think Dark Knight is a bad movie. I just find myself connecting more to Batman's journey and to the villains of that movie, even though Joker and Heath Ledger gives a better performance, a phenomenal performance. He's great. That scene where he's, you know, where he has his kind of conversation with Two-Face in the hospital, dressed up as the nurse, like that whole scene is phenomenal. It's so good. I love it.
Yeah.
But I find myself, I want to watch Batman Begins more. I just like, if I'm choosing between the two, I'm going to put Batman Begins on.
See, and that's the other thing. Like, as much as we want to say Joker's chaos for the sake of being chaos, he's planned chaos, though. Because, I mean, look at the bank heist. That's all planned out.
Do I really look like a guy with a plan? No, you don't look like it, but you have one.
Yeah, you already told everyone who's going to kill who before you got to that point of the bus. No, I killed the bus driver. Because you already planned it out. The bus driver's going to accidentally kill him because you're moving into a spot where the bus is going to hit him, kill him, then you shoot the bus driver.
One of the best opening scenes of all time.
Oh, yes. I will watch that opening scene and just be like, okay, I'm done. Like, I can watch that and just be happy. You know, but again, this is, to me, The Dark Knight it's so much better because to me, it's almost more realistic for me as a person because it's like, there are good people out there and there are terrible people out there. And the terrible people were siding with the Joker, you know, and then you got people who just believe this whole system's corrupt. So he's able to manipulate them in the way he wants.
Sure.
You know, and I don't know. I really enjoyed Dark Knight for the story of the Joker and Batman. You know, again, like you said, Ra's al Ghul has his own outlook at everything. You know, blow it up. This is like the Bible all over again. We got to just get rid of it. Where Joker's like, you know what? We're here. Might as well have fun while we're here. You know, and I think
I think there are individual scenes in The Dark Knight that are better than anything in Batman Begins. Like the opening sequence. I think my favorite scene in any Batman movie ever doesn't have Batman in it. I think my favorite scene in any Batman movie is in The Dark Knight when the accountant comes to Lucius Fox telling him he's figured out who Batman is. It's Bruce Wayne. And Morgan Freeman just deadpans him back. So he's like, so you think that your employer, one of the wealthiest, most powerful people in the world, secretly spends his nights as a vigilante beating criminals to a pulp. And your plan is to blackmail this person? good luck. Like, and I just love the reaction. The guy just like slides the information back over. He's like, you just keep that, you know, like
I'm just gonna go.
I'm out. Like it's a great scene. And so like, again, I'm not saying Dark Knight is a bad movie. Like these are like 1A, 1B, like they're right there. Yeah. I just think that for me, when it comes to the actual story of what, you know, like I guess the journey, the beginning of the movie, the middle of the movie, the end of the movie, where the movie goes, I just find myself connecting a lot more to the journey of Batman Begins than I do. Like the Dark Knight storyline feels like, you know, a single, like, you know, a short run of Batman where he was Batman before, he's Batman during, he's Batman after. He didn't necessarily learn any lessons. There's not anything, you know, major that happened with him. Whereas in the first movie, you get that origin of why he does what he does, why he dresses up like a bat, why he does all these things, why he, you know, and he, at least they pay lip service to it in this movie where he won't kill. Like that's kind of like, I mean, which it's totally just lip service because he does absolutely kill people.
That movie has guns and missiles on it, so come on.
Well, that's not in the first. Well, no, I guess he does.
Gordon blows stuff up.
Yeah, well, that's Gordon. That's not Batman. But anyways,
those missiles are for when Gordon gets in the Batmobile, not Batman. He never touches that button.
No. But it is like in that first one, like he does, you know, kind of, and this is, it's one of the worst scenes in the movie because it's Katie Holmes. When she like slaps him because he's gonna, you know, kill the guy that killed his parents, and he learns the lesson that, you know, you can't kill someone in vengeance. And again, beat them up. Yeah, as it goes forward, like when he destroys the League of Shadows because they want him to kill this guy that he doesn't know anything about, and it's like, okay, I'm pretty sure you killed like 50 ninjas instead of this one guy. Like I don't know that killed him. Right. And even at the end with the Ra's al Ghul where he's like, I'm not going to kill you, but I don't have to save you. And I'm like, you're really splitting hairs there, Batman. Like, I think you are responsible for his death. Let's just call that out. Like, if you have the ability to save one, but and then you don't, I'm pretty sure, like, that's the lesson Spider-Man learns. It's like, you know, so
Spider-Man jumps in. Wait. With great power comes great responsibility. Batman.
Right. Yeah. So again, but at least they're paying lip service to it, which I appreciate, because really in none of the other Batman movies do they even pretend that he's not a killer. So
I love the scene in Dark Knight where he's blown up all the cars to kind of like get through everything. So you're telling me there was not one person in any of those cars when we see a picture of two kids sitting in a car, right? And you don't blow up that car somehow, but you blew up all those other cars.
Lucky.
You know, maybe, like, I don't know, but I think I get where you're coming from on it. I like the writing behind Dark Knight. I think Dark Knight's very well written, and for me, there are too many more scenes that pay off. And and then you even get the, and again, I love the hospital scene with him and Two-Face, but I love the aftermath where Heath Ledger as the Joker stays in character when the bomb doesn't go off, because that's an ad-lib scene because it didn't go off like it was, and he's like,
they blew up an actual building, and it was supposed to go off when he first pressed the button, but it didn't. So then you have him being like, what the heck's going on? And then when the explosion did finally kick off,
it actually spooked him for a second.
Right, he's like, oh, and he runs off.
It's like that, like Christopher Nolan said in, I think, one of the interviews, they only had one chance at that. That was it. Because like you said, it's a real building that was going to be demolished. Well, let's use it. And, if that button didn't work and he broke character, that would have been it. It would have been like, hey, guys, that scene's gone. Because if it would have blown up while he's trying to figure out what's up like that, but he stayed in character. He was still the Joker. And I think that's a perfect Joker reaction. Like, oh, crap. Like, oh, I didn't know that was going to happen. He jumps in the bus. And I think there's just so many scenes like that, especially at the end where we get the fight scene with them two. And he even says, did you really think I was going to win a fight with you? Because he knew he was going to get his ass kicked if he fights them.
Yeah. And then I think, so this is I mentioned Katie Holmes as my big flaw in Batman Begins. I think my biggest flaw with The Dark Knight is that they try to tell you this detective story with Batman where he's like figuring out, with the bullet and who the identity of the Joker is and all that stuff. And he's trying to do all that stuff, but it feels really flat, and he doesn't feel like he doesn't feel like he is the world's greatest detective. Like it feels like he's really falling for the Joker's traps, and even like, you know, and I know it was like Gordon's plan to, you know, use Two-Face as bait, or he's not Two-Face at that point, Harvey Dent as bait, and that's how they're gonna, you know, capture the Joker, which they do. But obviously the Joker wanted to be caught, like all of that stuff, and so it feels like the Joker is operating on a level beyond Batman, and I don't really like that. I don't mind that Joker is sometimes a step ahead of Batman, but it feels like they're operating on different levels where Batman is not as smart as Joker, and I don't like that.
And see, I'm the opposite. I think I do like that more because that's where the chaos part comes in. Batman is controlled logic. This is like, I think that's the scene that sells it for that is where we have him and Alfred talking. He's like, you know, I saw, you know, this guy, what was in Africa, you know, these children playing with rubies the size of my melons. Why? Well, why did he do this then? Some people just like to watch the world burn, but Batman can't comprehend that. He's seen somebody like Ra's al Ghul who's like, this is why it has to burn. This is why everything has to happen. He's not used to someone who's just like, well, I just want to go set that on fire. Why? Well, why not? Like, it's not about the money. It's about,
and that's my thing is that, you know, it's kind of like okay, you know, they're setting up that he has to change his mindset, that he's going to have to, you know, cross lines that he wouldn't normally cross. But all he really does is get Lucius Fox to use a surveillance system.
And he didn't cross the line, though. Lucius did.
I mean, again, it feels like you didn't even put, you didn't even put, you know, Batman in the situation where he did have to make the choice. Yeah. Like they do that thing where, again, the scene where, you know, where Rachel dies and Two-Face becomes Two-Face, and it's like he's at here, she's at there, and you have to choose. That's the point. And it's like, really, like, it feels like Batman totally fell for it. And it's like, if you had, and I guess that's the moment that it's showing that he hasn't changed his mindset yet, because of course Joker is lying to you.
Yeah, of course he's telling you the wrong address. He knows who you want.
And so it is one of those things where it's like, I don't know. I think just in hindsight, like when I watched that movie the first time, I was like, this movie is one of the best comic book movies of all time. And just from now, it's like, it's still really excellent with really great scenes, but I prefer Batman Begins at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I get you, and I can respect that. But again, I still think Dark Knight is a well more rounded movie than anything else. I think that it does sell a lot more between Joker and Batman. And again, I think, you know, we'll never know what that third film is going to be about, because supposedly the third film was going to still have Joker in it, and we were going to have what's her name that played Catwoman actually play Harley Quinn.
But I think they changed that even before they finished shooting on Dark Knight. I mean, that was something that Christopher Nolan actually he didn't really want to make the third movie even, and he knew that while they were making the second movie. And so he changed it because Two-Face was going to end up being the big villain of the third movie, but they changed it to have it be in this story, in this movie. And then, you know, it was a few years later that Warner Brothers convinced them to come back and do the third movie. So I don't think it got changed by Heath Ledger's death. I
don't know. I mean, I guess, you know, no matter what, we'll never know, I guess, because you can't, you know, maybe he was going to write another one. We don't know. I really think Dark Knight's still the better movie, though. I think it was, out of all three, even the solid movie. I think one thing we can all agree on is the third one was not that great. You know, out of all of these, it still
has good moments.
Yeah, it has good moments, but it still falls below both of them, I think, you know, no matter what.
I agree.
So, what do you think down below, though, guys? Was Batman Begins better? Oh, Batman Begins. I can't talk. Batman Begins a better film than The Dark Knight? Let us know in the comments below, and definitely anything that you guys think is controversial, let us know about, like, the geek world, of course, anything that you think, hey, I have this opinion, what do you think? And maybe we'll talk about it on one of these serials is a soup segments and go over it. Remember to always keep an eye on youtube.com/official GYGO for more videos all week, guys. We're trying to release things all week, every week for you guys, so keep it out for those, and get your geek on.
Bye.
Later.